Welcome to Something Special Designs by Tina Williams, where I create French country, cottage, shabby, and farmhouse decor with mainly thrifted items. I hope you enjoy this video, and if you do, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so that you'll know when I upload future videos. Hi everybody, this is Tina. Hope you're doing well. I have 4 items that I want to do today with you. They're not really Valentine's, but they're pink and Valentine's colors. And I'm going to be using the DIY paint Petticoat Pink. And I will be using that on all 4 of these items today. So here's 3 of the ones I'm going to do. I've got a tray. It's not silver plate, it's just a tin tray. And then I have a silver plate little teapot that I'm going to be doing. And I had got that in my haul recently, and I think it's super cute, and I'd like to make it something that would work with this little vignette. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be painting this tray with 2 coats of the Petticoat Pink. It's a very pretty pink. It's a soft pink, and when you distress it a little, it really looks more like a dusty pink to me. Which is exactly what I like. I like kind of a vintage color, but if you even like just a light pink, this would be a great color to use. But it is going to take 2 coats, and I'm not too worried about the middle portion of it, mainly the ends and the back. The middle portion we're going to be doing something to, so it doesn't have to be perfect, and it doesn't have to be perfectly smooth or anything. But the rest of it I'm paying a little bit more attention to. And I'm making sure I put on thin coats, and then making sure I allow them to dry in between my coats, and trying not to get any drips. And that's basically all I'm doing here. And so I'm going to go ahead and do this 1 coat and let it dry. I'll do 1 coat on the back and let it dry, and then I'll go back and do a 2nd coat on this item. Pretty much I'm going to be doing the same thing to this little heart, and I don't know, I think it might be porcelain, I'm not really sure, but it has a very 80s vibe to it, and I got it for $1. It was 75% off, and I believe it had something to do with the FTD floral thing. It had a sticker on the back. But anyway, I'm going to be doing a total of 2 coats on this. And I'm also going to be painting the little teapot. And I know some people don't like painted silver, but these are not really worth a whole lot. And if you're not actually using them, why not, upcycle them and make them something that you would have in your decor. I do use silver pieces, and I have quite a few of them around my house. But I also like to have some of these pieces that are painted, that look special, and that's the point of the whole video, is to change them. So if I just left them all the same, then there wouldn't be a video, guys. So I get what you're saying. If you look at my little thrift haul recently, there's a set that I got that is really beautiful and definitely worth the money, and I'm not going to be painting that set. But the ones that are pretty much don't have much silver in them at all and aren't worth a whole lot, I don't mind painting those. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and be painting the whole thing pink, and I'm going to be doing 2 coats of that. Mainly because I just want a first coat for the chalk paint or the clay paint to stick to. DIY is a clay-based paint, but it works just like chalk paint. So the first coat really is just something to have it to stick to, but I'm going to do 2 full coats on that. And then lastly, guys, this is a frame that I have, and I thrifted this a really long time ago. And I thought this was appropriate for Valentine's Day. And I'm going to be painting it pink. And it has all of these indented sayings and things in there. And I'm not going to have those all disappear. They're going to actually be part of what we're doing. But I'm going to be painting this, again, 2 coats to make sure it covers well. And I make sure I do one thin coat front and back, and then I go back and let that dry, then go back. And the way that I do my videos, guys, I don't just do one thing and then go to the next, simply because that's not how I work. I will do one thing and let a portion of it dry, then go on to the next thing, and that is more efficient for me, and hopefully you can follow along. So now I'm just using some crackle paste, and this is home decor crackle, and you put it on and basically just single strokes. You don't want to go back and forth, or it'll give it a very chunky look, not a crackle look. And so I cover the whole thing, and I'm going to let that dry, and of course I do the rest of it too. And now I've got some molds out that I'm going to be doing, and this mold is a redesign mold, and it's called Avian Love, which I thought was appropriate. And I'm going to be using the birds. And then I also have some resin that I just bought and I haven't tried out yet, and I am very pleasantly pleased with this. It says Let's Resin is the brand. And I will link it below in case anybody's interested. But it works pretty much the same as the amazing, fantastic, or whatever resin that that does in 10 minutes, and it's cheaper. So I thought, well, I'm going to give it a try, and from what I can tell, it works pretty much identically the same. So if you're interested in that, I will put that link below, because hopefully I can find it. I got it on Amazon, and you can always look there. So I'm also going to be using some other molds, and that is the IOD Dainty Flourishes, and also just a little cameo mold that I got off of Temu. So anyway, I'm pouring my mold here, and I've tried to make sure I made enough to do everything that I need to do. And here's the Dainty Flourishes from IOD, and I love this. I've used so many pieces on this. As you can see, I haven't really cleaned it out very well. But I'm going to be using 2 pieces on this, and I don't know. I just find so many uses for this. So that's one of them I really, really like. And now here's that little tiny cameo mold. And I'm going to let all of those start to cure. And you'll see them turning white. And of course, this is 2 times speed, but it's still going just as fast as the amazing casting resin. So I'm really pleased with that. And I think the quality when I got done is pretty much the same. I couldn't find any different. Now I am going to be pulling that little mold out there, that little cameo mold, early, while it's still like not 100% cured, because we're going to be bending it, and so you have to do that. So now what I'm doing, I'm waiting for my resin to be ready to go, and I'm taking some more of that home decor crackle paste, and I am going over just the middle of our tray. And I'm being careful not to go back and forth, and just try and cover, like without going back and forth, and just, covering the area. All right, so now I'm popping out this little cameo, and it's not 100% cured, where it's still very bendable and pliable, and it can be damaged when you take it out, but you have to kind of pull them out at that stage if you're wanting to bend them quite a bit. And I am going to be doing that. So, and here there's a little extra piece on the edge, and I just took my scissors and cut them. It's very easy to cut these. So I am taking my little teapot, and I am going to be molding this to the teapot, which is quite a bit of bending and curving. But if you pull your mold out early enough, it will do that. And you can also use your heat gun to heat it up a little bit and help bend it But I find if you can get your mold, if you can get your casting out early enough, it you can usually have it pliable enough. So what I'm doing here is I have clear Gorilla Glue construction adhesive, and I love that stuff for sticking stuff on. But I'm also going to be using some Gorilla Glue. Their super glue, and it's gel super glue, and I will use a little bit of that with the Gorilla Glue construction adhesive because I want this to adhere um, fairly quickly. Because what happens is your casting will start to get hard, and if you don't have it stuck to its surface pretty quickly, then it'll basically go back to its try and go back to its original form. So you want to make sure you get that down really good and hold it down for a little bit. Um, that Gorilla Glue, super glue, it takes a good 5 to 10 seconds for it to totally set up, which is kind of good. Gives you a little play. And it's not all drippy like a lot of super glues are, but I usually only use it when I need something to adhere quickly. Okay, so now we're going to be pulling out our other molds, and this bird mold is so pretty, guys. It is just gorgeous, and I don't even know if you can really tell how intricate it is, but it's gorgeous. So I'm going to be putting this at the bottom of the frame, kind of like the birds looking up. And again, I'm trying to squeeze out the last little bit of this construction adhesive. I'm not going to be using the super glue on this because I don't really need it to stick quickly. This construction adhesive within 10 minutes, it's not completely cured, but it's dry enough where things aren't moving around. So I go ahead and get that positioned where I want it, making sure that the frame can still stand up. And now I'm going to take my other pieces and try and position them where I want them. So I'm kind of playing around with placement here, and I decide that that's kind of how I want it right there. I'm just trying to add some, I don't want just the mold on the bottom. I want it to be, balanced. So again, I'm going to be using that same Gorilla Glue construction adhesive. And this stuff dries clear, by the way, so, and you can paint right over it. So if you get a little extra, I mean, I always try and wipe it off, but then, I can usually just paint over it if if there's a little bit too much there. So anyway, I'm going to get everything all positioned where I want it and press down a little bit and make sure that they're on there. And this stuff works really well. So anyway, I will put this aside for about 30 minutes to make sure it's on there good before I start messing with it and doing anything more to it. So now our little teapot, our mold is on there, and it's stuck. And I'm going to go ahead and paint all of the little intricate pieces like the spout and the cameo and the legs. I'm going to be doing that in DIY White Swan, and it's kind of a little off-white. It's a really nice color, kind of a creamy color, and I'm even going over the little cameo because the resin comes out kind of a very stark white. It's not like a creamy white. And of course you could leave it that way, but I'm going for more of a vintage look on this. So, everything's to taste. Y'all need to do it the way that you like it. This is just how I usually like it. So I always like to vintage things up, and that's always usually the look I'm going to go for. So very rarely do I not do that. So anyway, you can always, stop and not do the vintage part and, take it as far as I take it and then not add all the other waxes and sealers and all that. And and just take it that far if you don't like it that much. So now what I'm doing is I am taking that same white swan, and our heart is dry. It doesn't look dry, but it is. It's shiny. And remember, we put the crackle paste on here, the home decor crackle paste. And I'm going in long strokes, and again, not going back and forth. Just trying to not go back and forth and cover everything. And it doesn't have to be perfect coverage. And this stuff will crackle pretty quick. So I'm going to go ahead and do the sides, which I already put the crackle paste on. Y'all didn't see me do that, I don't think. But I'm going to go ahead and do it on there. And I'm trying not to go back and forth over things. Occasionally, if you do, it might leave a little chippy part or something. But I actually like that. So sometimes I purposely do that. It's up to you what look you want. But anyway, I'm going to be going over all of this. And trying to just go one time and not go back and forth. You're trying not to overwork the paint, because then what happens is it just all comes off in chunks. And if you overwork the crackle paste, you'll have big spots where you won't have crackle. So anyway, so I'm going to do that and make sure it's all covered. And I'm going to take my heat gun and go over this a little bit to help it along. And you can see how quickly it starts to crackle. And I really want that. I want big cracks in it, guys. I want big old chunky cracks. That's the look I'm going for here. And you can see all the pink coming through. Don't worry, we'll be adding more pink. But you can see a few little chunky parts there where pieces came out, and I am 100% okay with that. So now I'm going over our tray that we put the crackle paste on it. It is dry. It just looks shiny. And I'm going kind of around the tray and trying not to go back and forth. I found that was the easiest way to do it, rather than up and down. And I don't mind if I get right to the edge. That's okay. I'm going to go back in and fix that. But I am going all around the middle. That's the only part I'm doing. It's just the middle. This is going to be kind of a two-toned item here. Just for something a little different. And I'm going to go in the middle. And once I get it all covered, I don't go back over it again, because that's what really messes it up. So now I'm going to go ahead back in and hit the edges. And I'm going to go ahead and get a smaller fine brush out, because that fan brush isn't going to let me get in there too tight. And I'm just going to go around the edge so I have a clean edge of white. It doesn't have to be perfect. And you can always go back in with your pink and fix it if you mess up. But I think in the end, I do a pretty good job. So I'm going to put my tray aside, and now I've got my frame out, and I'm using the same White Swan DIY paint to go over all of the birds and the top casting. And even though they're white, this is kind of a creamy white, and I want a base of paint down. And I go over the top also, and my trick to doing that is I don't go all the way down to where it meets the frame. And that little gap, you won't notice the difference, and it keeps me from making a big mess with it. So that's my trick on that. So I will do both top and bottom. And now I've got my heat gun out, and I'm putting more crackle on my little tray, and then I'm going to set it aside for a little bit. And then I'm going to go to my heart, which is completely done. And I have some rice paper that I am going to be using the hearts on here. And I've taken my little water pen and I'm tearing it apart. The thing is about rice paper is that it's very fibrous and it's very strong, and you really have to tear it and rip it, and you pretty much have to wet it to kind of shred it on the edges if you don't want straight edges. I'm going to be using several of these flower. It's basically the same thing, only they're different sizes. So I'm going to be using the 3 different sizes on there. I'm going to use the big one on the front of the heart, and then I'm going to be using the medium size and also the small to kind of go all the way around. And I am going to be applying this with my Color Rantic. It's a top coat, but I use it whenever I'm decoupaging too, because I like a very light, kind of watery decoupage. Even if I'm using glue, I water it down a lot. I find that you get less air bubbles and wrinkles that way. Um, I don't know, and this stuff works really well. And plus, it's a twofold. It's going to go ahead and seal it on there, and it's also going to adhere it on there. So I go ahead and go over that and put a generous amount on, and try and make sure, I'm not trying to get every single wrinkle out, but I'm trying to make it pretty smooth, and I don't want any big bubbles or any spots where I didn't get it down well. So I like using my fan brush for this especially. And now I'm going to just take some saran wrap that's bunched up. That's a little trick, and it basically smooths it all out and gets most of the wrinkles out and definitely gets all the bubbles out. So now I'm going to go in and I'm going to get the medium size little rose here, and I'm going to do 2 of those. Again, I'm going to make sure I pull the paper so that I get a kind of a non-perfect edge. I don't want any straight edges. I don't want too much paper. So I'm going to go ahead and put that on the sides of our little heart. I think that'll be really pretty right there. You can see all those wonderful little cracks in there. It's just great. So I'm going to go ahead and put that kind of toward the middle. And then go do the same thing I did on the one on top, is just go over it really well. Put a generous amount. Spread it out as best I can with my brush. And then I'm also going to go on the other side and do the same thing. And of course, I did go over it with the plastic again. So both sides are going to be done with this is a medium one. I'm also, at the end, I decide I want to put the small ones in the front and the back, because I think we have room for that, and I think it'll look good. So, I think this design in the end turns out really, really cool. It looks very vintage, and I don't know. Just something that, a little trinket box that I think will look pretty on a dresser, or to put your jewelry in or whatever. So I'm putting this on the front, and this is the smaller one. So there's 3 different sizes, and I'm using all 3 sizes, which, is good sometimes when you're getting different papers and things like that, to kind of look at that and how you might want to use it. Now, I've had this in my stash for a while, so I don't know whether it's still available out there. If I can find it, I will go ahead and try and link it, but I know I did get it on Etsy, and I'll see if I can find it. But if not, look out there. There's plenty of napkins, rice paper, all kinds of stuff that you can use. So again, I'm using my little plastic. It really does work, guys, so try that. So for the most part, I'm going to just let that dry for a little bit, and I'm going to move on to my plate. And this is the Brocante transfer by IOD. And if you haven't tried transfers before, this is a great one to start with, because you get a lot of different things, and you get quite a few of them in this little booklet. If you like the French type style. And anyway, I'm cutting out this little lady, and I'm going to put her on here. I've been really wanting to use her. I just love her. I decided that my sealant wasn't 100% dry, So I'm going to put that aside, and I tried to use my heat gun a little bit because you don't want to try and put a transfer on unless your top coat is dry. And that's another thing. Don't try and put it directly on the chalk paint, and definitely don't try and put it on over wax, because if you wax your item first, it's almost impossible to get your transfer out. So now I'm taking that same top coat and I am going over and sealing my little I guess it's a little teapot. Maybe it's a creamer, but it looks like a teapot to me, so I'm calling it a teapot. So I'm going to go over the whole thing, and this is just a clear water-based sealer. You can use any kind that you have. It does dry pretty matte. It has a tiny bit of a sheen to it, but I like having a matte sealer and knowing it's going to be matte when it is. And when I want a shiny one, then I want a shiny one. I want to have some control over that. So now I'm taking my frame and I'm doing the same thing. I'm using that same top coat over this, and I'm going to make sure I cover it all. And the main reason I'm doing this on all of these, if you put any kind of wax on it, or if you put a glaze or anything like that, if you have a sealer on it already, it allows you to wipe it back quite a bit. It doesn't just immediately soak in. Okay, so now my top coat is dry, and I'm going to put my transfer on. And I'm going to try and find my transfer stick here. And I get up and I stand up here, and this is important. I find that if I stand over my item, I can eyeball it better and get it in the middle better, other than just hovering over it, sitting down. I don't know, that just works for me. So now I'm going to go ahead and work my transfer, and it comes off very easily. But I'm telling you, if your top coat is not dry, you'll have problems. And if your paint's not dry, it will peel your paint off with it. So you want to make sure that whatever you're applying it on is dry. And as I said, don't try and wax your item and do it, because you'll be sorry. So that comes right off very easily. I think it turned out really good. And I'm using that same transfer sheet on the shiny side to burnish it down. And I will be putting a top coat on that, but I am going to take that same top coat that I've been using, that Color Rantic, and I am going to be taking some Distress Ink Vintage Photo, and I'm taking just a couple drops and mixing it in there. And I basically have tinted my top coat that I'm going to be using on multiple items. So now I'm going to my archival ink, and it's a permanent ink. You can use any permanent ink that you have. And I'm going to be using it to distress my tray a little bit. Just kind of going over the edges. And yeah, you can use distress ink, but if you use a ink that's not permanent, what will happen is if you go to try and seal your piece later, and it's a water-based sealer, it will reactivate that ink, and it will smear all over the place. So it's best to use a permanent ink. And once you do that, after about 10 seconds, it's on there permanently. Now, I took a wipe and I wiped it back just a little bit. But for the most part, it dries pretty quickly. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over the back a little. I'm trying to make this look, genuinely vintage. And after I do that, I'm going to go ahead and take that mixture of my top coat plus my vintage photo, and I'm going to be going over the whole thing. And this is going to seal in my transfer. You always want to make sure you seal in your transfer with some sort of top coat. You can use wax at this point if you wanted to use wax. to protect it. You just can't use it before you put the transfer down. And as you can see, this is kind of just putting a little bit on the tray, and now I'm moving over to the heart, and I'm going to be doing the same thing here. So, and just kind of getting it everywhere. I'm going to do the bottom portion also. And all this does is vintages up a little. If y'all don't like that, you could definitely have stopped at the point where I put the top coat on. So now this is my frame, and this is, I'm going to do a little bit more distressing. I am using some folk art antiquing wax, and it's the brown, and I'm going to use that on the birds and on the casting, and I'm wiping a lot of it back, and that was the reason for putting the clear sealant on. And I put clear sealant on that frame also, and now I'm going to put the clear sealant here, the tinted clear sealant, on my little teapot. And that's just to give it a vintage look, guys, and to also to seal it, but to give it just a little bit of a vintage look without putting heavy wax or anything on it. The only one that I put the heavier wax was the bird frame, as I really wanted to get in there and show the intricacy of those birds and the molding, and I thought that would be a good way to do it. And I did wipe a lot of it back, and putting that clear sealant on there allowed me to do that. So this is basically going to make sure this is sealed, and I'm going to go ahead, and I have some sealant left, so I decided I'm going to go back over my tray again, just because it's a tray, and I feel like the more coats I put on there, the better. I usually, when I have a tray, I will go over it 3 or 4 times, just because I think it's something that you'll probably use. Now, depending upon your sealer, some of them are food safe after a while. I know that polyacrylic is. You can definitely do that. This isn't really going to be meant for food. And so now what I'm doing is I'm taking a little bit of my rub and buff, and I'm going to go ahead and go over all of the edges, the raised edges on this tray. And I'm using the rub and buff antique gold, and you'll see me use that a lot. I think it definitely gives it a French look to it, because they love their gold on things. If you find an old item, it'll have gold leaf, chipping off of it like this. And I think that this definitely adds that to it. Plus, it allows you to see all the beautiful intricacies of that tray. And now again, I'm taking the same rub and buff, and I'm going around my heart on the edges, and I'm not being super careful. I want some of it to peek up over the top. And again, I'm using my finger. I've tried using a brush with this stuff before, and I don't know. I usually always end up going back with my finger, so now I just start out with my finger. And I'm going to go all the way around, and I end up going on the inside of the heart cover a little bit later. Just to make it look finished. And as you can see, I'm making sure I go up a little bit on the top so that when this covers on, you can see the gold. And it really, I think, makes a huge difference on the piece. Makes it look very finished and very, I don't know, special. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to add some more rub and buff to the edges. And I'm going to go around the bottom of this heart also. And the very top ridge, just to have it look finished when you open it up. So, because I didn't paint on the inside, so you could definitely put stuff in there and use this. The idea is it's a decor piece, but definitely you can use it. The same thing with the teapot. I didn't do anything on the inside of it, so you could definitely put something in there liquid. So now, guess what? I'm putting some more rub and buff on my frame, and then last, I'm going to be putting some rub and buff on my teapot, and doing it basically on any of the parts that I painted white, and going over all of those raised edges to make it look like it's old gilded parts of the teapot. I'm wanting all of these things to kind of go together in a vignette, so I'm, doing them similarly the same. So I'm going to be doing that all over and getting all the little edges. I'm not covering it completely. I'm leaving lots of white space in there, but I do put a lot on there to make it look like it was originally all gold, and it's been chipped off all over the little teapot. So anyway, and also too on this, you don't have to seal the rub and buff. It is permanent, and it's not going anywhere. That's another thing. When you put it on, you need to be, careful because it doesn't come off. Okay, so this is the backing of my frame that I had, and I painted it white. It was black because I don't really have anything to go in there, and obviously you could put a picture in there, but I am going to go ahead and put this napkin on the backing because I think it'll look pretty in the frame until someone decides they want to put a picture in it. So in the meantime, it'll have this beautiful rose in there, and I'm going to go ahead and take my same mixture that I still have a little bit of it left, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to go all over that backing that I painted white, and I just used the white swan on that also, and I'm going to go ahead and just basically decoupage this napkin right on there, and it's going to give it a little vintage look and have something to go in that frame just to kind of make it look good until somebody takes it. You could leave the rose in there, or you can put a picture in there. All you would have to do is put a picture in there. Now, I don't have the glass for this frame, but you could easily put a 5x7 piece of glass in there also. It wouldn't be hard for it to fit in there. So I'm going to go ahead and take my little saran wrap and go over it and get rid of the bubbles, and kind of, it does have, wrinkles in it, but I like that. And, but I do want to make sure I get most of the bubbles out and I get it in there pretty smooth. And that's pretty much all I'm going to do on that. And that is going to just get popped right back into the frame, just to have something to look at. So, like I said, it's just a 5x7 piece of glass could go in there. Now, I thought I was done with this, but I decided that this little lady looked too new and too fresh on this very distressed tray. So y'all think I'm crazy, but I took a little bit of fine grit sandpaper and I'm just roughing up this piece, and then I'm going to go back over it with just a little bit more of my top coat, because basically I disturbed the sealer that's on there by doing that. And lastly, on this little heart, I decided to go over it with polyacrylic, and I'm using the clear gloss. I want it to be shiny. I decided it needed a shiny finish. So here is everything all done, guys, and I hope you enjoyed this. I love how it looks together. I think it's beautiful. I love pink and I love shabby. I love how all of this looks together. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so that I know that you've liked these videos and that I'll do more of them. And hopefully I'll see you guys again soon. I'm planning on doing one more little Valentine's quickie video, and then we'll move on to the spring. Take care.